Chapter 199, Dominating Through Fear, 2. 10 minutes before Ren and Kevin's matches were about to start, Section G, upper rows of the arena grounds. Amanda. Over here. Waving in Amanda's direction, Emma patted the seat next to hers. Spotting Emma, Amanda sat next to her. With a drink in her hand, Emma asked, "How many times today?" 5. 5? Too little, last time it was 6, this time I'm betting on 7-inch. What Emma was referring to was how many fights Kevin will have before lunch break ended. Last week, in the span of an hour, he was challenged a whopping 6 times. This time Emma bet that he would be challenged 7 times. Having learned her lesson, she naturally did not bet any money. Stretching her arms upwards, Emma yawned. Man, watching Kevin fight is always entertaining, don't you agree?" "Yes." Amanda nodded her head. With how good Kevin was, watching his fight was both entertaining and enlightening. There was much to learn from him. This was why it usually attracted a lot of people. Just the way he moves and how he fights, you never get bored of it. Especially since he always holds back. Kind of feel bad for his opponents. Clenching her fists, Emma's eyes became bright. "Still, I'm not planning on getting left behind." Burping out loud and casually tossing the drink in her hand, Emma recalled something. "Burp, right, that guy is also fighting." "Ren?"
"Yeah."
"Him." At the mention of Ren's name, Amanda's interest peaked a little. She had already seen him fight once before, back in the after-party. Despite only having seen a fraction of his true abilities, Amanda never forgot that moment. Will he use the sword art or skill from back at the after-party? The fast one? All she remembered was a blur. However, it left a deep impression on her. It was so fast that even Elijah wasn't able to catch a glimpse of it. Was he going to use the skill or art he used to beat Elijah back then? Amanda wanted to know. Who was his opponent again? With her arms crossed, Emma frowned. She had no idea who Ren was fighting. After a while, she shook her head and gave up. I can't seem to remember his name. Do you know anything about him?"
"Nah."
"Not really, from what I've heard, his rank is in the top 50s, so he shouldn't be too bad." "Top 50?
"Yeah."
I'm actually curious at how strong that Ren is." "What about you?" Mid-sentence, Emma coughed and corrected herself. Amanda's reply was short and curt.
"Yeah."
"I guess so." This fight seems to be attracting a lot of people. Expecting such a response, Emma looked around. Noticing something, she pointed towards her left. "Hey, look, Amanda. Jin's here too. I guess he too is interested in the fight." Sitting a few rows next to them, Jin had his arms crossed. His full attention was towards the arena grounds. Neither Arnold nor Troy sat next to him. It was apparent that he had come here with the intention of observing the fights. Curious, Emma looked at Amanda and asked, "Do you think he's here for Ren's or Kevin's fight?" Without hesitation, Amanda replied, "Ren." "What makes you think so?" "He wasn't here last time when Kevin fought." "Oh, now that you've mentioned it, you're right." Emma did not see Jin ever spectating any of Kevin's matches before. Unless he had a change of heart, he came here to watch Ren fight. But, why would he watch Ren instead of K-? Hua! Cutting Emma mid-sentence were the loud cheers coming from the arena grounds. 2 youths appeared on the stage below. "Oh, the fight is about to start. It looks like Ren's first." By the time I arrived at Section G, the news of my upcoming challenge had spread throughout the academy. This was to be expected. Given that I was challenged publicly, the news was bound to spread quickly. Despite it being lunchtime, the arena was bustling with people. Even more shocking was the number of reporters present at the scene. Coincidentally, right before entering the arena, I was able to hear a nearby reporter talking. Shocking news, it is being reported that right now student Kevin Voss and Rendover are being simultaneously challenged to a duel. Their opponents are... Sigh. Listening to the reporter, I shook my head and sighed. With Kevin being challenged every day, it was only natural that they were present. After all, every guild out there was salivating to know more about Kevin and his unrivaled talent. Now that the opportunity presented itself, they were all itching to know more about me. Rendover, the next prodigy, blah, blah, blah. For the past few days, that's all I had been seeing on the papers and on the TV. Although it may not seem like much, for humans, another prodigy popping up was something worth celebrating. The stronger humanity was, the safer they were. Such attention was natural. Suddenly, as I was making my way towards the entrance of the arena grounds, I was stopped by a man in black. A lock emblem was sewed on his right pocket. Frowning, I pointed at my uniform. I'm wearing a student uniform, can't you see? It's not that. It's better if you don't go that way. Why is that? The man took out his watch and played a clip. More specifically, a live camera view of the entrance of the arena. Take a look for yourself? TSS. Hissing, I secretly wiped the cold sweat that had accumulated on my forehead. In the video, tons of reporters waited with their microphones in their hands. Some used their phones too. They resembled hungry wolves waiting for their prey. Where should I go? Here, this path was specifically made for these kinds of reasons. Taking a step to the side, the man opened a small door. Ah, I see. Thank you. Thanking the man, I entered the door. Sure enough, after walking through a long narrow corridor, I arrived before the changing rooms unobstructed. Entering the changing room, I soon spotted Kevin. Turning around and sensing my presence, a bitter smile appeared on his face. Fancy seeing you here, Ren. This is what you get for gloating at someone else's misfortune. Sitting down and taking out my training uniform, I quickly got changed. I was prepared for it though. Putting on my shorts, I paused slightly and looked at Kevin. Actually, what's the point of you agreeing to every fight? They are good practice dummies. Rolling my eyes, I retorted, stupid, if you want proper training dummies, just practice with the VR machines. The VR machine had a special function that allowed people to fight against virtual models of well-known heroes. Though it could not replicate their fighting experience in full, they were much better than the students Kevin was fighting. They were cannon fodder after all. It's just not the same. How so? Because the feeling is not the same. Hearing his response, I once again rolled my eyes. I guess that 1% really bothers him. Stretching my neck, I stood up. Well, you do you. I'm not planning on wasting my day endlessly fighting opponents. My goal was simple. Crush my opponent thoroughly. Use him as an example and deter others from challenging me. Jean did the same, and things worked out well for him. Now no one dares to challenge him. I couldn't be like Kevin where I would endlessly waste my time fighting against a bunch of nobodies. I had other things to do after all. Good luck. Sure, I'll see you after the fight is over. All right. Exiting the training room, I quickly moved to the arena grounds. Asterisk. Arriving before the arena, my opponent, Horace, was already waiting for me. Looking up, I saw that the stands were filled with students. Everyone's attention was directed towards me. Seeing this scene, I clicked my tongue. TSK, who would have expected for such a day to come? It really was weird. From suddenly trying my everything to not stand out, to now being the center of everyone's attention. With his eyes locked on me, Horace chuckled. To think you actually accepted my challenge. Today I will prove to the whole school that you are just a phony. I will let them know who the true prod dash. Raising my hand, I irritably said, "Can you stop?" What? What is it with you people always giving speeches before you fight? Like, do I look like someone who cares about what you have to say? With this not being an official match, there were no hosts nor speakers. Apart from me, no one else could understand what he was saying. Not like the others would actually care. Actually, there was someone else. The referee, though I doubt he cared. Before letting Horace continue his rant, I stared at the referee and said, "Ref, can we get this fight started?" Nodding his head, the referee raised his hand. "Are you guys ready?" It seems like we were on the same page. Staring at me with burning eyes, Horace gnashed his teeth and nodded his head. I did too. Yes. Yes. Slashing his hand down, the referee shouted, "You may begin." Boom. The ground shook and Horace disappeared from his spot. I stood still. Staring at Horace's figure that was quickly approaching me, I shook my head. Covering half of my face with my hand, my eyes slowly turned dull gray. The arena came to a standstill. The one. Chapter 200, Dominating Through Fear, 3. At this exact moment, an indescribable yet terrifying aura appeared on the tall stage. Everything stood at a standstill. Be it Horace, the referee, or the people in the stands. A cold chill traveled across the arena grounds. What is going on? Stopping midway, Horace felt as if his legs were made of lead. He couldn't move. What have you done to me? The momentum that Horace had previously completely disappeared the moment Ren's eyes turned gray. As if an invisible hand had grasped his neck, Horace's speech stuttered and his eyes dilated. This was the first time he had ever felt such dread from someone. He could barely utter a word as his body convulsed slightly. Swaying left and right, Horace tried his best to remain standing. His heartbeat increased, his back was slowly getting drenched, his eyes dilated, and his breathing became rugged. He was suffocating. At this moment, in the eyes of the spectating students, Ren looked incomparably scary. With just one look, and his opponent could barely stand. Even the referee was affected as droplets of sweat appeared by the side of his head. Noticing that Horace was still standing, Ren took his hand off his face. His two eyes were revealed, and the pressure intensified. Right after the second eye was revealed, Horace's mind almost collapsed. He let out a sharp and pained cry.
Huh?
Dash. Ren ignored him. His dull gray eyes remained fixed on him. The more Horace looked into Ren's eyes, the more insignificant Horace felt. It felt as though he was a peasant looking at his king. How insolent of him. Kneel. Finally opening his mouth, Ren's hoarse yet cold voice echoed across the arena. Without even thinking, Horace's knees weakened. An indescribable look of terror appeared in his eyes as his body continued to move down slowly and carefully. He was afraid of angering the person before him. Slowly and carefully Horace placed both knees on the ground. As he knelt, he faced the ground the whole time. He did not dare look into Ren's eyes, nor did he care about how he looked at the moment. Right now, all he wanted to do was kneel down. Nothing else mattered to him. As long as he knelt, he was going to be fine. Stop! The match is over. Recovering from his stupor, staring at Horace who was slowly kneeling on the ground, the referee raised his hand and ended the match. Instantly, the pressure alleviated and Ren's eyes returned to their usual deep blue color. Smiling as if nothing had ever happened, Ren nodded towards the referee. Gulp. Staring at Ren, the referee swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He was currently a third year and his rank was D. He could be considered quite talented for his age. The reason he chose to be a referee was so that he could improve his CV for when he applied for a job once he graduated. However, at this moment, he almost regretted his choice. The moment Ren's eyes turned gray, even he couldn't help but be affected. To make matters worse, once Ren's voice rang in the arena, he had almost knelt as well. Had it not been for Ren holding back, who knew what could have happened? With everyone spectating and recording, this would have been extremely detrimental for his future. Gratefully looking at Ren, the referee announced. Student Rendover wins. Right after the referee announced the winner, silence prevailed over the surroundings. Ren did not seem to mind this as he leisurely turned around and made his way towards the tunnel that led to the arena. Like that, Ren's true show of might was revealed to the world. What was that? I don't know. Staring at the arena grounds below, Emma had a solemn expression on her face. At this moment, no one cheered. Everyone had the same question on their mind. What just happened? Emma was the same. All she saw was Ren's eyes turn dull gray before an indescribable chill washed over the arena grounds. Even though she couldn't directly feel what had happened, judging from the referee's change in expression as well as Ren's opponent's reaction, Ren had done something outrageous. With her body leaning forward, she muttered, "Was that a skill? Possibly? But I don't know." Amanda shook her head. She did not know. She had originally thought that Ren was going to reveal the sword skill he had used back when he killed Elijah, but it seems like she was wrong. Whatever Ren had used, she had never seen such skill before. Then what do you think that was? I'm not sure. Because they were far from the actual arena grounds, they weren't fully aware of what had happened. Although they felt something, it wasn't strong. But it was enough for them to understand what Ren's opponent went through. Frowning, Emma looked at Ren's opponent, Horace. His complexion was currently extremely pale, and his eyes were blank. With a stretcher in tow, 2 medical staff came into the arena and placed Horace on it. Placing her hand on her chin, Emma asked, "You think he's going to be okay?" "I'm not sure." Amanda once again shook her head. She had no idea. "I think he went a little too hard on him. There is a chance that he might never recover from this. From the way I see things, the opponent might be scarred for life." Indeed. With a complicated expression on her face, Amanda agreed. Had this been a physical fight, she might have been able to tell the extent of his opponent's injuries. However, from the very minute that the match had started, Ren had not moved from his spot. This meant one thing. Whatever Ren did, he had destroyed his opponent's mentality. This had something to do with the brain. One of the most delicate organs of the human system. If something really happened and the brain got damaged, no potion or modern technology could solve this issue. Both Emma and Amanda knew this. Once again staring at Horace, who was slowly being carried away from the arena grounds, Emma's and Amanda's expressions turned solemn. What would have happened if it was them? Would they have been able to resist whatever Ren had done? They did not know. After Horace was carried away from the arena grounds, a show cast over them as a figure left the arena stands. Jin's leaving. Walking towards the exit, Jin indifferently left the arena grounds. Apart from his brows being slightly knit, Jin seemed rather unfazed. No one knew what he was thinking. I guess he really came to look at Ren's fight. MHM. Oh, it's finally Kevin's turn. A minute after Jean left, Emma's eyes lit up as she saw Kevin enter the arena grounds. Enough time had passed since Ren's shocking scene, and most of the people in the stands had recovered from their previous shock. Emma and Amanda too. Standing up, they all cheered. Hoo a dash! Right after Ren's fight ended. Inside the tunnel that led towards the arena grounds, Kevin leaned against the side of the wall with his arms crossed. Spotting Ren's figure walking in his direction, Kevin smirked. You show off. No choice, unlike you I am not planning on treating everyone as my training dummy. Rolling my eyes, I shrugged my shoulders. Since I've said I was going to leave with a bang, I naturally did as I said. This little stunt of mine will cement my position as a prodigy, but that was part of my plan. I knew that I needed to adapt to the changes. After spending the last couple of days thinking, I had more or less come up with a rough outline of my future courses of action. In a way, though it had its disadvantages, standing out could help me achieve my goals faster. By the way, you didn't permanently hurt him, right?
Nah.
I held back. You held back? Well.
Yeah.
My opponent was only F-ranked after all. Had I used my full power, he would have permanently been scarred. He would recover with a little bit of rest. I was not stupid enough to cripple someone. That would achieve the opposite of what I wanted. That's true. Nodding his head, Kevin agreed. He knew Rin wasn't stupid enough to permanently injure a student out of pettiness. Had he actually done that, he would have been in trouble. All right, good luck with your match, not that you need it. Wishing Kevin good luck, I headed to the changing room. You're right, I guess I don't. Pooh. Since when have you become so arrogant? Halting my footsteps, I spat on the ground. The Kevin that I knew would have never said such words. Who had corrupted him? I guess I've been spending too much time with the wrong people. I agree, don't hang out with Emma and Melissa. Hearing Kevin's statement, I nodded solemnly. Emma and Melissa were both bad influences for Kevin. He needed to spend less time with them or else he'll turn into an arrogant prick like the both of them. I was talking about you. I blinked a couple of times to make sure I wasn't hearing things. Who else would I be talking about? I literally spent a month with you in Amora. Yesterday too. If I'm getting influenced by someone, it's you. Piss off. After a short pause, I irritably waved my hand and turned around. The veins on the top of my head were bulging. This fucker. Me a bad influence? What was he on about? Not even in the slightest. I was just kidding. Laughing out loud, Kevin turned around and entered the arena. It was his turn. Chapter 201, The Future 1. Clank. I slid the doors that led to the balcony. How annoying. After the match with Horace, I left immediately. With everyone distracted by Kevin's match, I took the opportunity to slip out and go back to my dorm. Like that, I avoided most reporters. Furthermore, apart from electives, there were no other lectures today. Therefore, I was naturally free. Regarding Kevin's match, he naturally won. I wasn't sure about how many times he got challenged, but it was probably more than 5.
Huh?
What should I do now? A lot of my plans had changed because of what had happened in the most recent days. My plans of laying low were pretty much scrapped. Were they? Now that I thought about it, although I could no longer remain as hidden as before, nothing prevented me from building my forces secretly. I guess you could say that I was now operating in both the light and the dark. In a way this was good. A lot of my plans would speed up as a result of this. I did not need to be as cautious as before and could be more brazen about it. Should I create an alias? By creating an alias I could still operate more secretly. On one hand, I would be this talented individual that studies in the lock. On the other hand, I would use my other alias to operate my mercenary group and company. That would be ideal. But who knows? I needed more time to think about this. After what had happened a couple of days ago, I found my confidence shatter into pieces. Any time I came up with a plan, I felt paranoid. What if this happened? What if that happened? What if a meteorite suddenly fell from the sky and destroyed my company? With my recent successes piling up, I had become arrogant and complacent. I needed to stop thinking that I had everything in my control. Nothing was ever in my control. Just like Everblood, there were things that I couldn't account for. I needed to knock this into my skull. I was so sure that everything was going according to my plans before, and guess what? Everblood showed up. Someone who I didn't properly account for. There's that fucker too. There was also Matthew. I'd never have expected him to go public with the incident. If I could have, I would have immediately have told Irene the truth. The truth about the fact that he was a villain. Sadly, I couldn't. With Matthew knowing that I had a way to cure the Mindbreaker curse, I knew that I couldn't touch him at the moment. If such news were to be revealed to the world, not only would I become the #1 target of the demons, I would also be targeted by other people who were desperate for the cure. Fortunately, since I could reveal that he was contracted to a demon, he also couldn't reveal what he knew. We were currently at a stalemate. Damn it, I need to be stronger. I clenched my teeth hard and glared at the scenery outside of the balcony. I had to get stronger quicker. I can't let this go on. Taking out the diary that contained all of the information about the novel, I quickly flipped through its pages. Flip. Flip. Where is it? Since I knew I had to get stronger, I naturally had to see what I could do to make myself stronger. The book in my hand had the answer. This should be the page. Stopping at a certain page, I frowned. Flip. Licking the tip of my finger, I flipped to the next page. My eyes constantly moved from the left to the right. I needed to look for anything in the novel that could be useful for me in the future. An ideal item would be one that would help me pass lie detectors. Those were a problem. If not for Irene being able to detect lies, none of this would have happened. Fortunately, there was an item that could help me with regards to that. Plap.
Huh?
A couple of minutes after, I closed the book and exhaled. I knew what I had to do now. After taking a proper look at the book, I had a general idea of my next course of action. Even though it would cause some trouble to some people in the future, I no longer cared as much. Right now all I wanted to do was get stronger. Ding! At that moment, my phone suddenly rang. They agreed to listen to you. It was Amanda. Her message was vague, yet I instantly understood what she meant. Demon Hunter? They agreed. Yes. When? I needed to know the time. Since this was a formal meeting, I needed to prepare in full. Just one mistake and the deal could fall through. Next week, a day after the banquet. I understand, I'll get everything ready by then. Okay. After that, Amanda no longer messaged me. Since I knew her personality, I wasn't bothered. All right, this is good. Securing this deal would take a load off of my back. Not only would I secure a long-term money system, but create a connection with the Demon Hunter Guild as well. Naturally, the reason why I stood out so much today was because of this. The more talented I appeared, the greater the appeal of the project. They weren't just investing in the magic card system, but in me too. This was what I wanted. I guess that's sorted for now. Also, there's that too. Looking towards my wrist, I stared at the bracelet in my hand. I still had not checked the extra items I got from Amora. With everything that had happened recently, I didn't have enough time to properly check my spoils. Perhaps there was something interesting mixed in there. Before that, guess it's time to annoy Melissa. I took out my phone and quickly typed a message. Yo, Melissa, about the potion, when? My arm still hurt after all. At the same time, inside a white laboratory space. Clank. Clank. The heavy sound of machinery moving items to and fro resounded across the white laboratory space. Large metallic arms moved around the asphalt pavement carrying different-sized boxes. Inside of them were spare robotic parts or different colored potions. Boom! Suddenly a large explosion rang inside of the lab. Inside of a white confined room that could be seen through a rectangular glass, fire spread everywhere as it enveloped the whole room. Not long after, the fire died down and a red card held by two pincers was revealed. A cold and mechanical voice rang. Experiment log number 598, mana lingering in room, 49%. Standing opposite to the glass, a beautiful girl inwardly muttered. Another failure. After countless trials, Melissa still couldn't quite synchronize the mana inputted in the card with the right Pisons. Despite the fact that the current magic circle installed in the card was a simple fireball, occasionally a couple of other scions that were not flame scions would enter the system, resulting in a large loss of efficiency. Just what am I missing? Compared to when she had just started, there were a lot of improvements. However, this was not enough. In order for the card to be commercially viable, Melissa needed to have only a 30% efficiency loss. Any more than that and there was no point in using the card. At the moment her efficiency loss was 49%. Still a far cry from her goal. Melissa, you've got a message. Suddenly, a crisp voice called out for her from the other side of the room. A cheerful girl walked in Melissa's direction. Rosie? Who would message me at the moment? With her right hand on her white lab coat, Melissa took the phone. Instantly her brows knit. Yo, Melissa, about the potion, when? This bastard. Melissa's clenched the side of the phone. She was already busy enough with the magic card concept and now he wanted him to make him an advanced potion. Fuck that. Rosie, order an advanced potion off the market. Turning to her assistant she quickly ordered. She couldn't be bothered to make a potion herself, so might as well just order one from the market and pretend that it was from her. An advanced potion? Yes. What about the quality? Make it the lowest, no scratch that, make it the highest quality you can find. Melissa was originally tempted to just give Ren the lowest quality potion. However, she suddenly realized that it would be unrealistic. How could she, Melissa Hall, make such a low-quality potion? Impossible. Her pride wouldn't allow her to do that. It's around 40 million you, that okay? 40 million?
Yeah.
Secretly gritting her teeth, Melissa nodded. Calm down, Melissa, you can secretly strangle him in your sleep. Once she developed the magic card system, money will start coming in. Compared to what she usually spent on experiments each day, 40 million could be considered spare change for the likes of her. Ding!
Hello?
Anybody there? I can tell that you've seen the message. I can't believe you're ghosting me. What a rude dash. Before she could finish reading the message, Melissa's veins were already bulging from her forehead. I swear to God. Trying her best to suppress her rage, she typed. I humbly apologize for the inconvenience. This slave will quickly get your potion done in record time just for you. Not like she's busy with real life, which is something someone else doesn't seem to have. Perhaps you'd want a massage right after I deliver the potion? That would actually be quite nice, not gonna lie. Moments after she sent her reply, she got a reply. Staring at the reply, Melissa smiled. The smile was so terrifying that Rosie, who was not so far from her, had to take a couple of steps back. All she saw was death. Ren Dover, Northern District. Inside a medium-sized mansion, a childish voice rang out. Wah! Where is Pudding? Calm down, Nola, Pudding will come back soon, she's probably taking a stroll around the compounds. Taking Nola in her arms, Samantha Dover quickly tried to calm Nola down. She was used to such scenes. Occasionally Pudding would sneak out from the house for prolonged periods of time, causing Nola to be upset. Samantha did text Ren about this problem, to which he replied, "It's fine, she will return soon. She does this from time to time." And it was true. Not long after, Pudding would quickly return to the house. Naturally, from there Samantha no longer worried about her disappearance. The only problem was Nola. While we wait for Pudding, why don't you play with Mama for now? NWO. Pudding is better. Oh my. Inside of a secluded space, the figure of a beautiful woman could be seen sitting with her legs crossed. After moving away from Ren's house, Angelica managed to find a rather safe and secluded location where she start her breakthrough. Even though her breakthrough wouldn't cause a large commotion, she naturally wanted to be on the safer safe. Thus why she chose a secluded space.
Ha!
After this I should be able to break through. Angelica exhaled and looked at her hand. A black fruit that pulsated a red hue appeared. Staring at the fruit, her face was solemn. This was it. With the aid of the fruit, she will finally break through to Viscount rank. A long-cherished dream of hers. From this moment forward she will be known as Viscount von Doix. Gulp. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Angelica brought the fruit closer to her face. Here goes nothing. Crunch. Angelica took a bite of the fruit. Chapter 202, The Future, 2. Click. What do you think? Inside of a pitch-black room, on a long and round table, sat multiple obscured individuals. Displayed before them was a projection of youth with jet-black hair and deep blue eyes standing on what seemed to be an arena ground. Out of all the figures sitting, only one stood up. A relatively old man who had long gray hair and a thin mustache on his face. Judging from how respectful the individuals in the room were towards him, it could be inferred that he was a relatively important figure. As the clip played, the youth's eyes slowly turned dull gray. Not long after, the match ended. It was one-sided. The youth not once moved from his post. After the clip ended, silence prevailed over the room as no one spoke. What skill was that? After a while, one of the figures broke the silence and spoke. His eyes remained fixed on the youth displayed on the screen. I'm not sure as well. The old man shook his head. He too wasn't too sure about what had happened. Despite being one of the strongest people in the human domain, he wasn't omnipotent. He didn't know everything. Could it be a fear-inducing skill? A figure interjected. I doubt it, I've seen similar skills, but none of them even comes close to this one. Then what do you think? I'm also not sure. Another figure spoke. Then could I just be the youth's power? That's right, from what I've read he was ranked E+, it could very well be just his aura. Instantly the room was filled with discussions as more and more people joined in. Suddenly, as everyone was speaking, one of the figures sitting in the room spoke up as he looked at the old man. Sir, I don't understand. Why did we have to go public with his information? If we wanted to protect him, wouldn't it have been better if we did not disclose his information? Instantly the room turned silent. Everyone stared at the old man. They too were curious. Feeling the stares directed in his direction, the old man shook his head. Hayes, unfortunately, because of the pressure coming from the guilds, we had to reveal the information. The old man truly felt that it was a pity. With the world still following a capitalist principle, talented youth were treated as prize pieces for the top guilds to own for the sake of their honor. If there was ever a chance that a talented youth was found, they were to immediately report it to them. This was so that they could nurture them into future powerhouses for the sake of humanity. The old man knew that this was bullsh*t. Despite the fact that humans were facing the threat of extinction. Instead of being united, humans still segregated themselves into different factions with the idea of wanting more power. I guess there is no end to human greediness. Once again the old man shook his head. He originally wanted to keep the youth's rank and talent sealed, but with the pressure coming from all sides, he had to give in. After all, he was responsible for thousands of people's jobs. Even though he was strong, he was only one man. Tell the lock to take care of him. Oh, and make sure you warn Maximus. I won't tolerate another one of his son's blunders. If push comes to shove, even a mosquito sting can be devastating. This time he was serious. What had happened to Kevin not long ago truly sent him into a fit of rage. If not for the fact that Gilbert had not killed Kevin, he would have personally have taken action. A talent like Kevin could not die.
Ha!
I hope I won't have to take action. Calming down, the man sighed. This was the best he could do for the youth at the moment. He really hoped he would give him a pleasant surprise in the future. The world needed talented youths more than ever. Especially since they were currently facing the threat of extinction. Understood. Staring at the old man, everyone shouted in unison. The meeting ended after that. Lock, 7:50 a.m. Class A, 25. Having set an impression during my sparring session yesterday, no one approached me. Morning. Morning. No one besides Kevin, of course. Taking out his tablet, Kevin sat down. Used to Kevin now sitting next to me, I didn't mind his presence. Check this out. Scrolling through his tablet, Kevin laughed out loud and handed me his tablet. Curious, I took it and read what was written on it. Shocking display of might coming from Kevin Voss and our dash. Bah, don't show me this crap. Tossing the tablet back to Kevin, I rolled my eyes. I had seen enough articles talking about me. Every time I saw an article about me, I ended up cringing hard. Fortunately, I knew that with given time they would slowly decrease in number. Oh right, has your suit arrived? Putting his tablet down, Kevin suddenly thought of something. My suit?
Yeah.
The one we bought a couple of days ago. It did. I was honestly surprised by how efficient the tailors were. Within one day the suit was already sent and delivered to my apartment. I haven't tried the suit, but from the outside, it looked pretty good. Not sure whether it was comfortable though. Looked pretty tight. So, what about it? What about what? What about the suit, I mean? Do you like what we choose? I guess it's all right. What do you mean all right? I choose the suit. Of course, it's good. As Kevin and I were talking, Emma suddenly interrupted. It was evident that she was eavesdropping on our conversation. Ignoring her blatant attempt at joining the conversation without looking like she was eavesdropping, I responded. Is it really? To me, it just looked like a regular suit. Though it looked good, nothing about it stood out. This guy is hopeless. And what are you doing here? Leaning back, I crossed my arms. What about me? What are you doing here? Go back to your own seat. Does this seat have your name on it? Looking around, Emma pointed at the seat she was in. Frowning, I shook my head. No. Then seat here I shall. Smiling, she sat down. No words escaped from my mouth. She was doing this on purpose, wasn't she? Ren, it's useless. Once Emma sets her mind on something, there's no convincing her. Sitting next to me, Kevin shook his head. He had been through this multiple times. I knew that. That's why I was speechless. Oh, Amanda, sit here too. Right before I was about to rebuke, spotting Amanda entering the classroom, Emma waved at her. Staring in Emma's direction, Amanda's eyes were hazy. She was not a morning person. Why? Just come, don't leave me here alone with those two. Then why don't you just leave? I quickly retorted. If she didn't want to seat next to me, she could just move. No one was forcing her to stay with me and Kevin. Emma ignored me and kept pestering Amanda. In the end, still lethargic due to having just woken up, Amanda gave in and sat next to her. A row ahead of where I was sitting. Great, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse. It's okay. Patting me on the shoulder, Kevin consoled me. This is practically your fault. If Kevin had never sat next to me, this would have never have happened. If before a lot of the students were staring in my direction, now practically everyone was staring in my general direction. Kevin was enough. But now Emma and Amanda too? Are you kidding me? Alright, Kevin, what time are you going to the banquet next week? Turning around, Emma asked. Around 1900 hours p.m. I see. Why are you asking? Nothing. Turning her head around, Emma avoided the question. Her voice had a hint of disappointment. Noticing this, I rolled my eyes. Just tell him that you want to go with him already. Emma was obviously trying to ask Kevin to go with her. Unfortunately for her, Kevin was dense. Unless she told him right in his face, he would never pick up the hint. What about you, Ren? Unaware of this, Kevin asked me the same question to which I vaguely responded. Whenever. That was a lie. I was in fact going to go 1 hour earlier than Kevin. There was a reason for that. It was to stop something that will eventually happen at the party. Although the plotline was different from what I remembered, the events at the lock should still somewhat be the same, right? I wasn't sure. That's why I wanted to go early and check. Alright, Kevin, by the way, did you hear about the... Quickly recovering, Emma turned around and asked. Shush, class is starting. Cutting Emma mid-sentence, I put my finger on my lips. A second after, the door of the classroom opened up and Donna walked in. Checking the time, 8 a.m., I muttered. Punctual as usual, not even a second late. Late that night. Bang! Emma slammed the door to her room close, then jumped on her bed. Dense bastard. For the past day, Emma had tried dropping as many hints as she could to Kevin. She wanted him to accompany her to the banquet. The reason was simple. Given how popular she was, she would naturally attract the attention of a lot of boys. This has happened to her multiple times in the past. Knowing this, she wanted Kevin to act as her shield. As long as she was with him, no one would dare bother him. Unfortunately. How can he spend so much time with that fucker? Ever since last week, Rin and Kevin had almost been inseparable. They were almost always together. He even changed seats to sit next to him. In fact, Emma understood why Kevin was interested in Rin. She too was slightly interested in him. Ever since watching him fight, Emma's interest in him peaked. Especially after she saw him fight Horace. She did not know what he did that day, but he was scary. In fact, the moment she saw him in the arena, she was reminded of the time back in Hallberg. Back when he was strangling Jean. They had the same vibe. Cold and vicious. That's beside the point. Emma shook her head and dismissed such thoughts from her head. There was a more pressing issue. To her, the way Kevin and Ren became so close to each other was just so fast. Within a couple of days and they were suddenly best friends? Who would buy that? Emma didn't. Just what could have happened between them during such a period of time? Could he be? Suddenly she had a thought, her body shuddered as a result. She quickly shook her head. No, 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 get your mind out of the gutter. There's no way Kevin is like that. Maybe Ren, but not Kevin, but what if? Falling deep into her delusion, Emma bounced around on her bed while striking it repeatedly. The next day, Emma attended the lectures with glaring black circles beneath her eyes. Monday 1800 hours p.m. A week had passed and finally, the day of the banquet arrived. As usual, I attended the morning and afternoon lectures. Apart from the unusual stares which I was starting to get used to, nothing in particular happened. Having set an impression during my fight last week, no one approached me. Be it the 5 tyrants, the factions, or the professors. This was understandable. They all wanted to observe me first before approaching me. What I had done back in the arena grounds sort of made most people apprehensive. In fact, not a lot was known about me. My background was also unknown. The extent of my abilities was unknown. Apart from the one which no one knew anything about, everything about me was unknown. Therefore, without getting a proper read on me, no one would naturally approach me. So for the past week, it was pretty chill. Not sure about the future. Is it this way? No, this way, right? At the moment I was currently looking at myself in the mirror. Wearing a slick deep blue suit that complemented my eyes and perfectly outlined the outlines of my body, I tried to put on my tie. Unfortunately, having only worn a suit on a couple of occasions in the past, I had no clue on how to proceed. I did look at the web, but it was easier said than done. Screw this crap, if only they allowed me to take the Hawaiian shirt. Eventually, out of frustration, I threw my tie on the floor. I regretted not taking the Hawaiian shirt. Would have been much easier. Ding! Suddenly my door rang. Walking towards the door, I opened it and found a package on the ground. Oh, just in time. My eyes lit up, the sender was Melissa. Taking the package into my room and closing the door, I ripped the package open. Ryup. Opening the package and looking through its contents, my hand froze. Blinking a couple of times to make sure I wasn't seeing wrong, I was left speechless. Are you serious? The potion was there all right. There was just one problem. It was the fact that there was a glaring sticker with the words, W.V. Pharmaceuticals, engraved on it.
Ha!
Pinching the middle of my brows, I exhaled. You could have at least removed the tag. I shook my head. Melissa probably forgot to specify this to her assistant when she gave her the orders. Click. Taking out my phone, I took a selfie. I made sure to emphasize the sticker by the side of the potion. Thank you for the wonderful potion you made. Typing some words of appreciation, I sent Melissa the photo. Serves you right. For all those horrible days, it was about time I made you suffer. Ding! Suddenly my phone rang. Leo was the sender. Ren, where are you? I had promised him and Pram that I would go with them. Thinking about them, a smile appeared on my face. Despite what had happened these past few days, they treated me the same. Unlike the others, they weren't scared of me. From there I knew that they were truly good friends. Coming. Trying my best to fix my tie, I typed back. We're waiting for you on the bottom floor. All right, give me a minute, I'll be right there. Plaque. Checking myself once again in the mirror, I turned off the light and headed downstairs. It was time for the banquet to begin. Chapter 203, Banquet 1. Looking good, Ren. Sharp. With my tie still crooked, I headed towards the lobby of the Manticore building. With me, Leo, and Pram heading an hour earlier than the others, the lobby of the building was relatively deserted. It was evident that everyone was still busy dressing up for tonight. Can't say the same about you guys though. Pulling the side of my collar, I took a look at Leo and Pram and shook my head. Leo's suit was too big for him, and Pram's suit was a bit too tight for him. They looked ridiculous. Are you sure you guys didn't swap suits? If they swapped suits, they'd probably look normal. Leo and Pram's smiles instantly froze. Their faces turned red. Says the guy that doesn't even know how to put on his tie. You. Is this what you say after we compliment you? Hooking my arms around them, I laughed. I'm kidding, let's go get a taxi. The ride is going to take some time. The banquet was not held at the academy. In fact, it was located in a separate private establishment quite far from the academy. Le Manoir Vert. The owners of the establishment were of French descent, and naturally, it had a French ambient because of it. The establishment was fairly popular, as most wealthy individuals in Ashton City knew of its name. Thank you. Clank. Exiting the taxi, with Leo and Pram in tow, we headed towards the mansion. Observing the mansion from afar, I muttered. We're finally here. After 30 minutes, we had finally arrived at our destination. Sitting at the center of a small hill, the mansion looked spectacular. Built using white-colored brick, the house's visual perfectly complemented the greenery that surrounded it. The tall, rectangular windows by the side of the house added an overall posh and sophisticated look to the mansion. At the roof of the mansion was a tall, dark blue sloping roof that was nicely hipped. Damn, this is fancier than I expected. Recovering from his stupor, Leo exclaimed. I agree. Yup, I agree. How about we go in? I suggested, to which Leo and Pram replied with a nod. Once again fixing my collar, I walked towards the entrance of the mansion. Out of spite, due to what I had said before, Leo and Pram did not help me fix my tie. Petty bastards. Ticket, please. In front of the mansion, we were stopped by a tall bodyguard in black. He had a thick French accent. Here you go. Here. Taking out our phones, we showed the guards our tickets. Scanning our tickets, the guard nodded his head and let us in. With a smile, he welcomed us. Welcome to Le Manoir Vert, we hope you have a nice stay. Thank you. Thanks. Thanking the guard, we entered the mansion and walked through a long and expansive corridor. As we walked through the corridor, a nice lavender scent invaded my nostrils. Right after, we heard the sound of chatter in the distance. I guess we weren't the only ones that decided to come early. Turning right of the corridor, we arrived before a large hall that was lit by an enormous golden chandelier that hung from the ceiling. Oh wow, I like the ambience of this place. Leo and Pram looked at the hall in surprise. It was evident that they had not frequented such places before. I too was the same. Recovering from our slight stupor, we walked in together. The inside of the hall was just as gorgeous as the outside. A calming classical piece flowed beautifully, while each and every decoration was delicate and elegant. It's Mozart. I instantly recognized the piece that was being played. Turkish March by Mozart. With me being a fanatic of classical music, I naturally knew what they were playing. Do you know who that is, Leo? No clue, never heard of such guy before. No words came out of my mouth. I was having second thoughts. Perhaps I shouldn't have befriended them. Oh look, isn't that Professor Romhouse? Professor Thibault is here too. Pointing towards the end of the hall, Leo exclaimed. Standing on the other hand of the hall, Professor Romhouse conversed with Professor Thibault. Both had a glass of Prosecco in their hand. It's them. I squinted my eyes. I naturally recognized both of them. Professor Romhouse was the guy who kept pestering me at the beginning of the year with regards to the mana poisoning theory. With regards to that, after I had told him the theory, he did not pester me again. He was busy researching. He should be close now, no? With almost a year passing, he should soon be able to prove the theory that I put forward. That would cause quite the annoyance. I made a mental note to myself. I've got to tell him not to include my name in the final thesis. Taking my eyes off of Professor Romhouse, my eyes soon paused on Professor Thibault. My eyes became cold. He was one of the people I had to look out for today. That was because he had a major role in today's incident. What should we do now? We're still a bit early. Looking at me, Leo asked. Snapping out of it, I held up my watch and looked at the time, 6:15 p.m. I then turned around. I've got to go to the bathroom, I'll be back in a minute. All right. Take your time, we'll go try some appetizers whilst we are at it. Go ahead, I'll be back in 10. Asterisk. Distancing myself from Leo and Pram, I took the stairs and led to the second floor bathroom. In any case, today my job was simple. Check if everything was progressing as it was in the story. I wanted to see the extent that my actions had on the plot. Regardless, even if the story was progressing as it should, I was intent on interfering a little bit. The reason was simple. For the first time in the novel, villains would make an appearance. Their plan was to kill a few of the transfer students. With the Lock being responsible for hosting the party, they would naturally take part of the blame for the incident. That was what the villains wanted. They wanted to create conflicts between the 4 great academies and the Lock. In the story, the villains almost succeeded. Unfortunately, someone known as Kevin existed. With his plot armor and protagonist halo, he quickly foiled their plans and resolved the situation. That was what was supposed to happen. My interference should make his life a little bit easier. Will the incident be the same as in the novel? I wasn't sure. In any case, if something did go wrong, I still had the book with me. Which one is it? Entering the bathroom, 5 wooden cubicles appeared before me. After musing for a bit, I went for the 5th. Since my favorite number was 5, it should naturally be in the 5th. Clank. There. I was right. Opening the lid of the toilet, I sighed in relief. I guess I still have some leeway to work with. 7 p.m. The air had started to chill as the sun slowly made its way towards the horizon. The world became dyed in the color orange. A slick black sedan parked before the mansion and 2 individuals got off. Emma and Kevin arrived at the banquet. Fully adorned in party clothes, their perfect figures shone brilliantly. They instantly attract the eyes of everyone present. After days of continuous hints, and seeing that she wasn't going anywhere, Emma chose to be upfront about it and asked Kevin to accompany her directly. After listening to her reasoning, Kevin naturally didn't refuse. What a fancy place. Looking at the mansion, Kevin's voice carried a hint of awe. I've actually been here before. Flicking her hair to the side, Emma took a quick glance at the mansion. She was not amused. Oh. How is it? It's pretty good, their service is not half bad. Not half bad? I've had better before. Emma seriously nodded her head. She had been here multiple times in the past. Their service was quite good. However, compared to other places she had been to, this place was only decent. Sure. Once again, Kevin was reminded of how rich Emma was. If this pace was all right, what was good in her books? Kevin wanted to know. Shall we? Okay. Shaking his head, Kevin offered his arm. Emma smiled back and didn't refuse. Like that, under everyone's watch, they entered the mansion. Young miss, we have arrived. 10 minutes after Kevin and Emma arrived, another car stopped right before the mansion. Wearing a black shimmering dress, Amanda stepped out of the car. Just like Kevin and Emma, she also attracted the attention of everyone nearby. Wow, she's so beautiful. Who is she? Clank. Ignoring the stares, Amanda closed the car door. She was used to such attention. Screech. Suddenly, another car stopped right next to Amanda. Exiting the vehicle, wearing a white one-piece dress, Melissa exited the vehicle. She was currently not wearing any glasses. Closing the doors of the car shut, she angrily muttered. Wait until I get a piece of you. Glancing at Amanda standing next to her, Melissa nodded her head. Amanda nodded back. Holding onto a small white handbag, Melissa grumpily headed towards the venue hall. She seemed to be in a bit of a bad mood. Staring at Melissa's departing figure, Amanda had a thought. Perhaps someone offended her? Inside of the large hall, 7:30 a.m. In our academy, we have a specialized course designed to make the life of Stu. With a glass of wine in her hand, Donna calmly listened to the professors from the other academies speak. The hall was filled to the brim with students and professors coming from either the Locke or the 4 grade academies. And so, we believe that separating courses into smaller time periods is better. That does seem effective. However, at the moment, Donna was listening to the conversation of a couple of the professors coming from the other academies. They were obviously boasting about their academies. Even then, it was interesting to Donna. Listening to them discuss their educational system and how their academies differed from the Locke interested Donna a lot. Despite being strict, Donna really cared for her job. She naturally strived to become a better teacher. Such conversations were useful for her. Especially since the ones talking were experienced professors who had been at it for years. Excuse me, Miss Longburn, may I? I apologize. Out of all the people present at the banquet, Donna was the youngest. Aside from her, there were only a few that were a few years older than her. Naturally, attracted by her beauty, a lot of the younger professors tried to strike up a conversation with her. With her beauty and fame, who wouldn't want to be with such a girl? Used to this, Donna merely shook them off with a smile. All it took was a calm smile. After that, all her pursuers as if in a trance calmly walked back from where they came from. Who? What happened? What was I doing? A minute after they would snap out of it and find themselves with no recollection of what had happened moments prior. After shaking off another one of the people that tried to flirt with her, Donna suddenly frowned. Strange. Generally, once someone reaches S rank, their senses became much stronger. They were naturally much more sensitive to energy fluctuations. As long as it wasn't too far, they could feel it. This was especially true for someone like Donna, who was the strongest person present in the venue. At this moment, Donna's senses told her that something was happening towards the upper floor of the mansion. Excuse me for a minute, I'm going to check on something. Without a second thought, she excused herself. With her brows knit, she decided to investigate. Chapter 204, Banquet 2. Luminoir Vert, 3rd floor. Moving forwards, Donna felt the thread of energy lingering in the air become thicker. Her brows were fully knit. This should be the place. Donna stopped in front of a room. That was where she felt the thread of energy was coming from. Crap! Suddenly, Donna opened her eyes wide. Bam! Without a second thought, she broke the door open. After she got close enough, she understood what the thread of energy meant. A portal. Someone was trying to open a portal. I knew that something was odd. Only demons and villains could make such portals. Even among villains, one had to be contracted with a powerful demon in order to do this. Oh. It seems like you've found me. On the other side of the room, a skinny individual with sunken cheeks stood up. Behind him, a translucent black portal appeared. It's been a while, Calamity Witch Donna Longburn. Adieu, Mud. Donna's face became complicated. Edmund Rice, rank 198 of the villain ranking. An ex-classmate of Donna. Her impression of him was faint. He was a loner. He never interacted with others. Naturally, because of this, she did not know much about him. All she knew was that one day he had disappeared and reappeared as a notorious villain a few years later. Deranged Reaper. That was his nickname. What happened to you? Why did you turn out this way? Well.
Shh.
T happens, you know. Edmund shrugged his shoulders. Looking at Donna, he smiled. How long has it been since we last saw each other? 5 years? 7 years? It's been so long. I'll give you one warning, stop whatever you're doing, else. Whying? A black whip suddenly appeared in Donna's hand. Her amethyst-colored eyes lit up. It's too late, I'm already done. Edmund smiled. 2 daggers appeared in his hands. Without wasting any time, he pounced Donna. Gotcha. You. Like a snake, Donna's whip suddenly flew and headed in Edmund's direction. At the same time, her eyes lit up even more. It's useless. Clank. Crossing his 2 daggers into an X position, Donna's whip and Edmund's daggers clashed. The loud sound of metal clashing resounded across the place. Taking a step back, Edmund closed his eyes. Regardless of how much you try, you won't be able to tempt me with your art. As long as he did not look into Donna's eyes, Donna's art wouldn't be able to affect him. Let's see how long you can keep that act for. Enraged, Donna's whip struck down repeatedly. Each time her whip clashed with Edgemund's dagger, sparks flickered. Clank. Clank. Like that, unbeknownst to anyone, a fight amongst ranked individuals began on the 3rd floor. Back at the main hall. Yo, I'm back. I took out a mint and ate it. After that, I waved at Leo and Pram in the distance. Ren, what took you so long? What do you mean? You were gone for like an hour. Turning his wrist, Leo checked his watch and responded. I was actually lost, ended up in the upstairs bathroom. After that, I took a number 2-inch. I scratched the back of my head. In all fairness, taking care of the business took a lot longer than I had expected. Dude, there's like a toilet sign over there.
Oops.
Seriously. Enough about that, what have you guys been doing in the meantime? Switching the conversation, I looked at the plates in their hands. It was filled with all sorts of delicious food. Definitely need to try those. Nothing much, We've been talking about the exchange students.
Ah.
What about them? After having researched every single one of them, I had a general idea of almost every exchange student. We're just talking about who we should be looking out for in the tournament. Oh. Who caught your interest? So far, the Lanefall twins from Lutwick Academy, John Burson from Cusk Academy, Eleanor Gray from Velen Academy, and lastly Aaron Rhinestone from Theodora Academy. Musing for a bit, Pram responded. From what he could tell, those were the highest-ranked Invidious of each academy. You're spot on. I nodded my head. Those were indeed the people that they should look out for in the inter-academy tournament. They were the most outstanding individuals from the other academies, with Aaron from Theodora Academy being the villain of that arc. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't a villain in the literal sense, but he was the antagonist. In the novel, he did give Kevin a run for his money. In terms of strength, he was stronger than Jean. He doesn't seem to be here. Aside from them, there was another individual that people had to look out for. Unfortunately, he did not attend the banquet.
Ah.
Ren, there you are. Suddenly, I heard a crisp voice in the distance. Instantly I had an ominous premonition. Huh, Melissa? Why are you talking to me? Oh, don't be silly, Ren. As your business partner, I naturally have to say hello to you. Melissa waved her hand. A sweet smile appeared on her face. Huh? Hold on, wait, what are you doing? Acting coquettishly, Melissa pulled my wrist and dragged me away from Leo and Pram. Shivers ran down my spine. I remember Melissa acting like this once in the novel. Not good. Without hesitation, I tried to get away. Unfortunately for you, Melissa, I already have plans, Leo, Pramlet.
Ah.
The moment I turned around, Leo and Pram were already gone. Once again, they betrayed me. What plans? I massaged my forehead. I'll remember this. How about I fix that for you? Looking at my crooked tie, Melissa offered to fix it. I instantly refused. I would have normally said yes, but your smile does not look RKHHH. Before I could finish talking, Melissa grabbed my tie and tightened it. I tapped her hand. KHH Melissa, that's a bit too tight. Ho ho ho, it's okay, leave it to me. Trust me, I know how to tie a tie. Melissa laughed. Her smile became even sweeter. To me, it looked like the smile of a devil. At the same time, not far from where Rin was. With a glass of wine in their hands, Emma, Amanda, and Kevin conversed with each other. From what I remember, if we go to XQ-. From time to time, some people would try to join in on their conversation, cutting them off. Whenever this happened, Emma responded with a glare. Can't you see that we're talking? Sorry. How many is that? Kevin looked at Emma. That was about the fourth person that approached them. More specifically, Amanda. 4. Tapping her foot on the ground, Emma bitterly raised 4 fingers. She then looked at Amanda, who was next to her. Amanda, you should have done something similar to me. What do you mean? You should have had someone escort you. Emma pointed at Kevin. With him there, no one dared to approach her. Unfortunately, Amanda was alone. Naturally, a lot of people tried to approach her. But, who? I dunno, Jean, no, probably not him.
Ah.
What about Ren? Emma's eyes lit up. Ren? Yes, he would have made a great escort. Although she hated to admit it, he could have been a great escort. Though he was not as handsome as Kevin, with his current fame, he would have made a nice deterrent for the others. Actually, where is he at? Oh. Thinking of a brilliant idea, she looked around the hall. Suddenly, her eyes opened widely. She then pointed towards the distance. Aren't those Ren and Melissa? What? Where? Over there. Looking in the direction of where Emma pointed at, Kevin soon spotted Ren. He and Melissa were currently standing very close to each other. They looked very close. In fact, it looked like Melissa was helping Ren put on his tie. Since when have Ren and Melissa been so close? Is he perhaps escorting Melissa? But I've never seen Melissa smile like that. Emma muttered. She was taken aback, she had never seen Melissa smile like that before. Originally, Emma had thought Melissa hated Ren with a passion, but from how things looked, that didn't seem to be the case. Unless Melissa was putting on an act. Looking at Emma, Kevin wanted to say something. In the end, he chose not to. After observing more carefully, to him, it looked like Melissa was strangling Ren. From the way his face was turning red, this seemed to be the case.
Ha!
I don't know. I'm not good at judging this kind of stuff. He shook his head. Perhaps his judgment was wrong. He wasn't very good at this kind of stuff. On the other hand, staring at the scene from the distance, Amanda's brows knit for a split second. It came as fast it went. Watching Ren and Melissa interact in the distance, for a short second, Amanda felt a sense of discomfort. What happened? Because of how fast it came and disappeared, Amanda couldn't quite put a grasp on what she felt. After a while, she shook her head. Perhaps the sense of discomfort is because of all the people that are approaching me? This was the only plausible explanation Amanda could think of. Damned witch. After freeing myself from Melissa's grasps, I headed towards the drink section. I needed some wine. My tie was in a worse state than before. If you try to help, at least help. Fortunately, with this being a public space, Melissa didn't go overboard. After ruining my tie even further, she directly left. I'll definitely get her back for that. I made a mental note to myself. Turning my wrist, I checked my watch. My brow soon raised. Oh. I guess it's about time the main event kicks in. After checking my book, I knew the approximate time of when the event was about to start. It should start any second now. Right on cue. Kaboom! A large explosion resounded across the space, and the mansion shook. Startled screams echoed around the mansion. When the dust cleared, Donna's figure appeared. On her hand, a long black whip gently touched the wooden floor. Her eyes at the moment shone brilliantly as her body pulsated a purple hue. Before her was a lanky individual whose cheeks were sunken. He looked malnourished. I instantly recognized him. Hero rank 198, Edmund Rice, the Deranged Reaper. He looked exactly as I had described him in the novel. Basically like a starved malnourished adult with sunken eyes and cheekbones. Kinda creepy. Suddenly, Edmund screamed. Now! Right before the explosion resounded, in a rather inconspicuous corner of the hall, Professor Thibault calmly looked at his watch. Should be soon. Kaboom! Suddenly an explosion rang in the distance and dust and debris spread everywhere. Enveloping his body was a thin transparent membrane. Professor Thibault tensed. It was almost his turn. The dust settled down and the features of the two individuals were revealed. Smiling widely, Adumad screamed. Now! Out of thin air, Professor Thibault sneakily took out a remote controller. Without hesitation, he pressed the button. Click! Seconds passed and nothing happened.
Uh.
What's going on? No. Tap. Tap. With nothing happening, Professor Thibault frowned. His heart raced. Did it perhaps malfunction? This can't be happening. Professor Thibault turned the device upside down and tapped the back of it repeatedly. After a while, he tried again. Results were the same. Nothing happened. Damn it, work. Out of desperation, Professor Thibault smacked the back of the controller repeatedly. If the plan failed, he was done for. In the distance, a youth with deep blue eyes leisurely swirled the wine cup in his hand. That someone, Rendover, had a thin smile on his face. Pitifully looking at Professor Thibault's panicked figure in the distance, Ren leisurely played with a small metallic orb in his hand. Oh my, the device doesn't work? I wonder what happened. He had no idea. Not like this had anything to do with him.